Welcome in, everybody. We are live from the hotel room here in Scottsdale. I'm alive, which is nice. Jake Marsh is with me, which is also nice. Final Four reaction. First of all, we were supposed to do this last night on the court at the Final Four, and I almost died yesterday. Still trying to figure out what the hell happened, but yeah, I don't want to go through the details of what I was dealing with because it was coming out both ends, Jake. Not a great experience for me, but I'm okay right now, and here we are. Let's talk about the games last night. I think there was an expectation coming in that neither one of these games would be all that great. That the spreads were what did I think Dan said it was 20. This was like the highest combined spread in the Final Four maybe ever. Yeah, and both teams covered, and it ended up being really, I don't know. It was NC State, I think, played decently well. Alabama was obviously hitting a lot of shots, but the fact that Purdue and UConn still won when I don't want to say they both looked a little vulnerable, but we were really, at least I was, as I was watching, I was really trying to talk myself into both of these games maybe being something, and for them to both win pretty easily, I thought that was crazy.
Yeah, they both made their runs, the two underdogs, but they were never in serious doubt of losing. The favorites, first half Alabama, 8 of 11 from 3.
Yeah,
still down by 4.
Yeah, that was the recipe for Alabama. Was they were gonna have to hit everything, and they were, and then they were still losing. Yeah,
so once that happened at halftime, they had no shot.
And same with Purdue, where it was Purdue was turning the ball over like crazy.
Braden Smith was scoreless for the first 30 minutes or so.
Those two over and backs were wild. Yeah. For that to happen once is pretty crazy, but for it to happen twice to him, he was all sorts of. He was out of sorts like crazy. But yeah, Purdue I felt wasn't even playing that well. And then the same point, you look up and you're like, yeah, they've been in total control of this game the whole time. So it sets up for a fun national championship. I want to ask you, as a guy who was there last night, the atmosphere. Give me the breakdown. What did I miss? I had so much FOMO watching this. I'm just mummified in my bed, dealing with cold sweats and shit, and I'm watching on TV just so mad that I'm not there. It looked awesome.
It was really cool. But if it makes you feel any better, the games weren't great. 2 years ago with the Final Four, we had Duke UNC in Coach K's last game. Last year at the Final Four, we had a buzzer beater.
That's right, yeah.
This year we had a 13 and a 14-point game.
Yeah.
So in terms of game excitement on Final Four Saturday, you didn't miss anything in comparison to the last few years.
Yeah.
So and you're getting to see the best game tomorrow. But biggest takeaway, and I tweeted this the first media time out of the first game, Purdue brought everyone.
Purdue fans
everyone. I'm sure TJ will agree. They probably had 60 to 70% of the crowd.
Oh, really?
It was massive, and I'm sure some more are going to come in tomorrow. They would hit a 3 to go up 7-4, and it would sound like they hit a buzzer beater.
Oh, really?
So you could tell they've been waiting for this moment, and they are definitely going to outnumber UConn tomorrow in terms of support.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's been a very long time since they've been here, and they've had just insane fans through all as the rest of the college basketball world has mocked Purdue. The Purdue fans have not stopped caring about Purdue basketball, and they're just as insane about it as they were in 1980 and all the way up until now. So that checks out, I guess. I would have assumed NC State would bring some fans, but maybe they saw the writing on the wall too, because it really it boils down to I feel of the four teams, NC State and Alabama both could have maybe talked themselves into having a chance, but really Purdue and UConn fans are the two fan bases that legitimately think they have a shot to win the net. Right. Coming in, obviously now they're playing, but coming into it, those were the two of the four that were we could actually win this thing. Yeah. And UConn, having won it last year, I wonder how much of that is just expected. Yeah, it's just fatigue from the fans.
TJ and I were sitting right behind the NC State student section, which turned into the UConn student section. There were more NC State students than UConn students.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess it's a long way to fly. It's you did it last year.
Right.
That is crazy, dude. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
Can you imagine getting to a point where you're whatever, national championship, I've been there before.
I was talking to Quiggs, who obviously is our colleague who's an NC State grad, and I was asking him, are a bunch of your friends coming? He said some of them are, but if they won yesterday, a lot of them would have waited to come down
yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
Because, like, you have a chance to see your team win a national championship.
Right.
So it's not worth making the trip maybe for a Final Four game, but if you have the chance to win it all, like, you're going to drop everything and come.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, the neutral fans, like, all leave, and no one, like, there are a lot of media people I know that are leaving today.
Really?
To not stick around for the championship, yeah. So yeah, it's a weird schedule. By the way, the women's game is about to tip off. The women's national championship, like in like an hour and a half. I'm jealous of their schedule, dude. Like Sunday afternoon would be a perfect time for a national championship. Yeah. Monday at 9:20 is crazy.
Yeah, well, we got 6:20, but it's always so late.
It's so late.
We're not going to be going live until like midnight Eastern tomorrow. Because we have to wait for
all the confetti.
And, all of that.
The trophy ceremony
But it'll be worth it.
And all that. So yeah, I felt like NC State Purdue. Actually, hold that thought. We gotta rip through some ads. We gotta pay some bills. I'm gonna hold that thought. Roback activewear. This is the only thing I'll be wearing all of March and the rest of the year for that matter. March Madness may be the best weekend in all the sports, and it isn't the same without Roback. First, Roback's performance hoodies, a total game changer. Maybe the softest, stretchiest hoodies in the game. They're moisture wicking too, so when you're sweating out that bed or bracket buster, Roback's hoodies will get you through. Second, Roback's performance Q-zips bring a new meaning to the word comfortable. They are the definition of versatile, perfect to rock in an arena or on your couch. These Q-zips are incredible. Finally, Roback's performance joggers, which I'm wearing right now, are made in March. They're made for March. They're flexible, allowing for easy movement and celebrations when the buzzer beater falls. If you want a perfect bracket, you wear Roback. So check out Roback and use code Titus on Roback.com for 20% off your first purchase. That's RHOBACK.com, 20% off. Performance hoodies, crew necks, joggers, and more with code Titus. So yeah, NC State, Purdue. I don't know. Yeah, it kind of sucks because I don't know how much time we really need to spend breaking down both of those games. But I would just say, like, I commend NC State for playing well-ish. They couldn't make a damn thing, and it felt like the part of me that wanted it to be a good game and was hoping for some sort of drama in the Final Four. You would see NC State in these moments where they're down like 5 or 6. They get a wide open 3, or they get Jaden Taylor like blew the layup at one point on like a fast break. They're bricking these wide open shots, and that just kept happening over and over. Where I actually felt like they were guarding Edey pretty well. He still he got 20 and 12. He still gets his, but he had 5 turnovers. Like they were swiping, bringing help from all sorts of angles. I felt like they guarded Purdue pretty well. Purdue did hit threes. Edey is dominant as he always is, but NC State, I felt like they played about as well as they could reasonably be expected to. They just didn't make. They just like there were these moments in every game where it's like, all right, if you hit this shot, maybe we have something. Maybe you can build some momentum here. Maybe. Maybe Purdue gets sweating a little bit. Probably not, but like you're talking yourself into it. And it felt like every time one of those opportunities arose, NC State would throw up a brick.
Also, DJ Burns, like he wasn't the DJ Burns we've seen the last 2 weeks.
Which you kind of knew he was going to get in foul trouble. You kind of knew, like the fact that less than a minute into the game, he fouls Braden Smith as Braden Smith's bringing on like a semi-fast break, and he just hacks him. That's the kind of shit that couldn't happen, and it did. And the writing, I thought Middlebrooks actually did a better job against Edey than Burns did. But yeah, Burns, DJ Horn was good. I think O'Connell going out. Where do we stand on that? Do you think he actually got hurt, or do you think he just like
what was
embarrassed?
The deficit when he got hurt? Was the game over?
No, remember he had they stole it from Edey, I think, and then it was a fast break, and then he pulled the like Sam Decker move where he tripped over his own feet. And then he had the hamstring issue the whole game, is what they kept saying.
Do that in the Final Four, like unless you're hurt. Like you were down bad in terms of your things.
Yeah.
So like unless it's something like that, you're going to the Final Four.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but they badly needed him. They needed his shooting, and he was out of sorts because of the. Was it a hamstring? I don't even really know. It looked like an ankle. And then they were talking on the broadcast like it was a hamstring. So I don't know what it ultimately was, but yeah, when O'Connell was out, when Burns was in foul trouble, it was just basically like NC State didn't have much of a chance anyway going into the game. But if they did have a chance, all sorts of things would have to align, and it felt like all of those things they needed to align the exact opposite happened. DJ Burns was in foul trouble, and O'Connell gets hurt. They can't hit a shot. And yeah, it was just they played as well as you could expect them to play given the circumstances, but it was never really in my mind in doubt that Purdue was going to win the game.
Yeah, not at all. And we see this all the time with, I guess you can call NC State Cinderella, even though they're an ACC team. When they lose Cinderella, they lose.
Yeah, yeah. When midnight strikes, it's ugly.
They never lose like on a buzzer beater or like FAU last year wasn't. I guess you could argue they were not really Cinderella, they're also the buzzer beater. But like in terms of teams you had no idea we're going to be here a few weeks ago, when they lose, they get destroyed. And
they seem to get destroyed, yeah.
That's what happened.
That's pretty much what happened. In the other game, Bama, was shooting well. I will say the Bama run was pretty incredible and fun to watch. And I don't want to say a hater of Bama this year, but I just felt like last year's team was obviously better, and I just didn't think that this Bama team was actually built to compete for a national championship. And they took care of business against North Carolina and made the Final Four, and it ended up being a great season for them. But they played so well. That's the terrifying part about UConn is I really feel like Bama might look back on this game and be like, what could we have done differently? Like we played as well as they were hitting shots. They weren't really turning the ball over that much. I did feel like they were engaged defensively. They weren't getting stops, obviously, like UConn was, but it wasn't like Bama played matador defense throughout the season where they just like looked like they did not care at all about playing defense. And at least last night, I got the sense that they were like actually, locked in on the defensive end. It's just UConn's a buzzsaw and impossible to stop. So that's what's crazy to me from that game is like I felt like Bama played, I don't know, an 8 out of 10 of like what a perfect game would be for them. Mark Sears was like, Grant Nelson was like,
he had that dunk,
the dunk on
Kling
was incredible. But he was so good in like one-on-one situations where it felt like they had UConn's defense scrambling a little bit at times. And still, in spite of all that, UConn won going away.
I think the only thing Bama could have done different, probably should have, especially based off the first half, they didn't shoot enough threes for them. They shot 41 against UNC, 36 against Clemson, and only 23 in this game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, like, you knew they had to make a lot of threes, but I guess maybe that was just how Hurley set them up defensively to make sure they couldn't even get the shots off.
Yeah, well, Hurley was doing what San Diego State did when they beat Bama last year, which is when you have a rim protector like Klingon and you can just run guys off the three-point line because Bama does not want to take mid-range. We know that.
Yeah.
So if you can just run them off the three-point line, funnel them into the shot blocker, they kind of look lost on offense. But even in spite of all that, like Sears was great and Nelson was great, and I felt like Alabama had a little bit of swagger throughout the game. It's just UConn's so good. UConn's so good.
It's crazy.
The balance from UConn. Stephon Castle was the best player on the floor for long stretches of that game, but so was Klingon. So was Cam Spencer. Caravan hits a couple threes, and he gets rolling. Tristan Newton's your first-team All-American. It almost feels like if you didn't know that he was the first-team All-American, I don't know if you've been watching UConn during this run that you would realize that he's their best player because they don't really need him to be like that. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's just crazy how talented they are, how athletic they are. And I felt like Bama played a great game, but they were just completely outmatched.
Yeah, we got the Andrew Hurley streak to stay alive.
Oh, that's right.
18 seconds left, and they put him in.
Okay,
so all 11 games he's been in.
Do you feel like had he not been in all the other games, he would have got in last night? Because I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think you don't put in walk-ons with 18 seconds
I think
left.
he put him in solely because of the streak. Yeah. He had to keep it going.
Also, at the end of the first half, I said this to TJ. Shout out to Purdue's Ethan Morton. He played 2 seconds. They put him at 2 seconds.
It's incredible. Yeah, they did that a couple games ago too, where they brought him in just a foul. He had 2 fouls in like 30 seconds.
in the box score forever. In the Final Four. Yeah. No one could take that away from him.
He used to start for he was a starter for Purdue, and now he's playing 2 seconds in the Final Four. That's incredible. That's an all-time trillion.
Yeah.
To play 2 seconds and
not even 1 minute. I guess, does it show up as 1 minute in the box score?
I think it's 0. I think you got to play like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
or
just
else
rounds.
it's a 0. It just rounds down.
So that's
to
club
0.
Club 0.
0. Yeah, he has zeros across the board, but he did get in.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Pretty cool.
Let me talk about Body Armor. This episode is brought to you by Body Armor Zero Sugar, the brand new zero sugar sports drink from our friends at Body Armor. Provides real hydration with no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or dyes. Whether you're looking to stay hydrated or recovering from a long weekend, Body Armor Zero Sugar has got you covered with great tasting flavors like fruit punch and lemon lime. Body Armor Zero Sugar is available in stores nationwide. Head on over to the Body Armor store on Amazon and get yours today. Ian Eagle was on the call. I forgot that he was doing that.
Yeah, I missed it. How was it?
I felt like he was great. He's obviously great. But there was a stretch where like him and Raftery and Grant Hill just like could not stop using puns. Like they just like
that's what they do though. They're like goofy.
I know.
Together.
Yeah. Like they just like went all in on. Yeah. They just like they were just like trying to one up each other on the puns that they were using.
Yeah.
But no, he was awesome. He's a natural at it, and it felt like I completely forgot that Jim Nantz wasn't calling it. And
he was there.
He was there.
We saw him in street clothes, and I was like, "What? This is like seeing the UConn mascot without his head on." Because I've never seen Jim Nantz not be in a suit, and he was just like in a t-shirt and what was he wearing? TJ, just like a
quarter zip.
Yeah,
I picture him in a polo with a quarter zip, khakis. And he's got like a glass of wine in his hand, and he's swirling it, and he never drinks it. He never takes a drink. He's just sitting there swirling.
So it was just weird seeing him not in a tie, not courtside, but he was enjoying himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mascot thing was great too.
What a video that was. What was the context of that? Do we even know?
It's like great season. It's a family. The mascot.
The mascot family. Yeah.
Yeah, but his head was off.
It was a little weird seeing a mascot with his head off.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So tomorrow is UConn Purdue. Two best teams in college basketball. The Kling-Edey matchup is the one that's getting all the attention, and rightfully so. You have two just like massive dudes going up against each other, and Edey's such a dominant force offensively, but Klingon is so good defensively. But he's also like, I don't know if Klingon's ever really seen anybody like Edey. I don't know if Edey's ever really seen anybody like Klingon. Who's going to win that matchup? I actually think the game will not be decided by those two guys. I think like I anticipate them being a wash, and I don't mean production wise. Like Edey's going to score more than him, and Edey's going to. If you look at the box score, Edey's going to be the better player, but I anticipate like Klingon getting, disrupting him enough where he gets a little bit out of rhythm, but also Edey still gets his and all that. I think the game's going to be won or lost based on how Purdue's guards play.
And if they play like yesterday, they're going to lose by 20.
They're going to get blown out. And I believe in Purdue's guards insofar as like they're definitely better than last year. I think the Lance Jones addition has been incredible for them all year. He's got such a knack for hitting the big shots. Braden Smith he stunk last night, but he's been so good for them this year, and I do think they've made a massive leap as like a unit. When you talked about Purdue last year, it was always the guards are going to fuck it up, the guards are going to ruin it, then they lose to a 16 seed, and it's basically the guards' fault. This year, I do feel like the guards are way better, and they could win the national championship tomorrow. But my fear is that UConn, like Stephon Castle, is just so good defensively, and Newton is so good defensively. I just feel like their length and athleticism, because Purdue's guards aren't. They're skilled and they're good. They're not like Lance Jones is 6'1", Braden Smith is like 6 foot tall. Fletcher Lawyer I think 6'4", but he's like 170 pounds, and he looks like Fletcher Lawyer can't even stand up. Every time he plays a basketball game, he just gets knocked around like crazy. So I'm worried about that for Purdue. I'm worried about UConn's guards just swallowing them alive and them not really having an answer for that. Edey, in my mind, if Purdue wins the national championship tomorrow, Edey has to have an all-time historic performance, which is within the realm of possibility because we've seen that from him before.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because you mentioned the guards have to play better for Purdue, but even if they play well, like UConn, like we saw with Bama, UConn has to win by double figures if Purdue plays the perfect game.
Yeah, it's got to be. The other thing is like I don't think Hurley's just gonna leave Klingon 1-on-1 with Edey. He is going to show some. I think he'll bring some doubles every so often, so show some different looks. I don't know how you couldn't. I don't know how you could watch like NC State, what they did last night. Which again they didn't like shut Edey down, but they definitely. I mean he had 5 turnovers. And
he
was
had
definitely
40 in the Elite Eight and 20 last night. So.
And he was definitely not himself last night. It reminded me actually of the Ohio State game when we beat Purdue, and Zed Key was like stripping Edey like crazy, and he was just discombobulated. I have to imagine that Hurley will bring some sort of like he's not just going to leave Klingon to go 1-on-1 with Edey all night. But yeah, I think Samson Johnson adds an interesting wrinkle as well. Like when he comes into the game and his pick and roll and his athleticism on offense, where they just run pick and roll with him and throw it up at the rim and let him dunk, like that's going to be fascinating to watch Edey deal with that, and how much he gets pulled out from the basket and all that sort of thing. Because I think Purdue has the best player in the game. UConn might have the next like 5 or 6 best players.
Yeah, if you're doing a draft, if you're doing a draft of a pickup game of these 12 guys, it's like 1-1 Edey, like 2 through 6.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah,
it really might be. So I expect like a lot of people. I mean, UConn's just too good, but you can't count Purdue out because they have Zach Edey.
Should we do predictions?
Do you want to do predictions?
I don't know. I'll go with. I brought it up, so we have to at this point. I'll go with 83-71 UConn. They just continue.
83.
I just feel like if they win, they're gonna win by double digits again.
Yeah. I think I don't know, man. I'm talking myself into Purdue making this a game. I think the point of attack is just going to be. I think Braden Smith is really good, but I think like Stephon Castle is just gonna his length and athleticism is just gonna like last night. It just doesn't bode well for Purdue. Where last night they're running like Braden Smith wasn't out of sorts because he just like slept wrong. He wasn't. He didn't have a bad game because that just happens sometimes. He had a bad game because NC State's good defensively, and they were forcing him to run his offense like a half court, and they were getting into shit and disrupting him, and he was just kind of like trying to work through like the athleticism deficiency that he had against it. It's going to be so much worse against UConn. So I think that's going to be the game. I think Edey's going to have a monster game. I think Purdue's going to keep it close, and I think UConn's going to pull away late.
Yeah, I think it'll be like under 8, like a 64-60 game.
That feels right.
Like a 70-66.
Yeah.
They make a few threes. They start fouling.
Yeah.
And then they put in Hurley with 18 seconds left.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. So I would take UConn by double digits as well, but I think it's
because how can you not?
How can you not, dude? And it's crazy because like Purdue fans are at the point where they're like, we are dominating everybody, and how can you count us out? But when you see what UConn's doing, I mean, UConn's just like UConn's on a completely different level, and UConn doesn't need. I keep saying it. Like Tristan Newton, he played well last night. He didn't really play well at all against Illinois. He's a first-team All-American, and they don't even need him. Tristan Newton can like just kind of coast, and they have been just rolling through everybody. They're just so deep. Cam Spencer is awesome. He's not just like a shooter. He's not just a scorer. He's grabbing like all these offensive rebounds and drawing fouls, and I just think the depth of UConn and Samson Johnson coming off the bench is a luxury that UConn has that like not a lot of other teams have had. So I think that like yes, Klingon hasn't seen anything like Edey. I do expect Edey in one-on-one situation against Klingon. Like Klingon is so good defensively, but a lot of it is like help side. A lot of it is like last night, Alabama's guards are getting funneled into Klingon, and he's meeting them at the rim and blocking shots and stuff. Except Grant Nelson dunked on him.
One play, yeah.
But I do worry about Klingon guarding Edey one-on-one, where Edey gets the post position and turns and does a little baby hook. You obviously have to worry about foul trouble for anybody that's going up against Edey. But the one thing I'll say is that UConn at least has a Samson Johnson that they can bring off the bench, which a lot of other teams don't. A lot of other teams have like one guy that maybe they could throw at Edey. They don't have two, and UConn has that. So, Yeah, I think it'll be a close game, but I think it'll be an interesting game. Like you said, like at the under 8 timeout, I feel like we're gonna
be like, let's enjoy this for the next 8 months. We're not gonna see.
Yeah,
this,
all the big J's are gonna be tweeting. We got a good one in Glendale.
Yeah, exactly.
Get to TNT or TBS.
Glendale, by the way.
We got a good one going, and then
the traffic situation. I know everyone's talking about it, but it took me an hour and a half to get an Uber last night.
Oh, really?
On the way back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was stranded. It was crazy.
I saw TJ sent me the text or the tweet. TJ texted me the Fanta
walking on the street.
Fanta walking on the street.
Yeah, it was quicker to walk than
it's
to
crazy.
Sit in traffic.
Yeah. I got to talk about Visible. If you haven't heard of Visible, now you have. They are the wireless carrier that's making wireless visible. It's in the name. Switch to Visible, the wireless company that makes wireless visible. Get a one-line plan with unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon, just $25 a month, taxes and fees included. One-line wireless, just $25 a month, taxes and fees are included. Visible is the wireless company that makes wireless visible. No hidden fees. Save on wireless with unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon. In times of traffic, your data may be temporarily slower than other traffic. 5G access required. A 5G capable device and a 5G coverage area. Monthly rate on the Visible plan. Terms apply. See visible.com. Switch now at visible.com. What else?
Repeat versus redemption. That's my headline.
Oh yeah, that's right. The storylines of this game are great.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, no matter who wins, it feels like a
massive,
historic.
Yeah,
it feels like a historic moment. Virginia doing it 5 years ago. Does that make Purdue doing it? I don't want to say less impressive, but like less cool, less impactful, or does it make it even?
I think it gives them more confidence.
Or does it make it even more impactful because it's now the second time that we've seen a team lose to a 16 and then go on to win the national championship?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to think about it because no one thought like, oh, Virginia lost last year, and now they're going to do it. Now that's all everyone's talking about for Purdue. They're going to do it.
Yeah.
But also the repeat. Also, you might not like to hear this, but there's a chance your team gets some airtime tomorrow because the last time back-to-back happened.
Nobody remembers last time, Jake. Nobody remembers last. That was
but
so
you might get
ago.
some airtime. You sitting on the bench.
Do you think I'll get some air? Yeah, they'll cut to me. Yeah, just pouting on the bench. That, oh, dude.
Right? Am I wrong?
I really thought
like
we were gonna win too. I was so stupid. I thought we were gonna beat Florida. So Purdue is now the what? How many? There was Indiana in 2002. There was Illinois in 05. There was us in 07. There was Michigan State in 09. There was Michigan in 13.
Are you talking about Big Ten teams?
Big Ten teams in the national championship game. There was Wisconsin in 15. Michigan again in 18. This keeps happening over and over.
Yeah.
That Big Ten.
Also, this would be. They always talk about the Big Ten not winning. This could be it. That's like not even being talked about at all. I feel like.
No, yeah, but also it's not being talked about because it feels like UConn's going to win, and we're just going to add Purdue to the list of Big Ten teams that get to the national championship and then lose. But every single time a Big Ten team gets to the national championship, Jake, we're always playing. We as a conference are always playing a 1 seed that is like very, very, very good, and they're obviously
right.
Good because they're a 1 seed. But like you go back and you look at like the teams that all the Big Ten teams lost to, and it's like Michigan in 18 loses to Villanova. That was just a fucking buzzsaw.
Right.
And
yeah,
and we in 07 lose to a team that won the national championship, brought back 5 starters. That Maryland team in 02 was unbelievable. The Carolina team in 05. Which actually felt like Illinois could have beat them. But yeah, this is just the way of the Big Ten. Is like as soon as a team breaks through and makes it to the national championship, waiting on the other side is like a fucking juggernaut every single time.
Technically, you could add UCLA in 06 now, retroactively.
We'll add UCLA in 06, but if we're doing that, then we get Maryland winning it in 02.
True. Yeah, but that would still be a long drought.
That's still a long drought, yeah. Yeah, redemption versus
repeat versus redemption.
Repeat versus redemption. If UConn does this tomorrow, I do think it's the most impressive back-to-back probably ever. I think the roster turnover, because if you look at like Duke in 92 and Florida in 07,
all the same guys.
It was the same core of guys.
Yeah.
And for UConn to lose 5 of their top 8 and be right back in this position where it does feel, now they have 40 minutes to go, so we can't crown them yet, but it does feel like this team will be remembered as being better than last year's team. They certainly, to this point, have been better than last year's team was, but if they blow it against Purdue tomorrow, I don't know how you can, if you're on last year's UConn team, you're going to say we got the job done and this year's didn't.
Right.
But for them to lose 5 of the top 8 from a national champion and be right back in this position where
doing it the same
feels
way
like
as
they're
last
better.
year. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. DraftKings. The thrill and excitement of March Mania is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, is giving new customers a shot to turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets with any college basketball bet. North Carolina listeners, don't forget DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in your state. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Titus. New customers can bet $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code Titus. The crown is yours. So the spread right now is 6, right?
Yeah, I think it's 6.
Has it moved at all? It was 6 this morning when I checked it. It's now 6.5 on DraftKings. And
our guys will be there tomorrow night.
it?
Our guys will be live streaming.
Who's that?
Dave, Big Cut.
Oh, our guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our, You said our guys. I was like,
Sorry.
Jack Golke. Is it?
Yeah, they'll be at DraftKings.
I didn't know who you meant by our guys because
Yeah.
that could be.
Yeah, that was
Really,
too
anyway.
big. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's 6.5. UConn's minus 6.5, and I've seen a lot of chatter about this, Jake. That last year, UConn going into the national championship game minus 7.5. I think they were against San Diego State, who was a 5 seed, who was not quite a Cinderella, but there was sort of a sense of like San Diego State's a little happy to be here. They kind of know what's coming. They're going to get their ass handed to them, and yet UConn, and they did.
Right.
To be clear. But UConn was a 7.5-point favorite going into that game. Now we have a situation where UConn is playing a 1 seed who has the 2-time National Player of the Year.
I feel like each fan base is equally as confident they're going to win tomorrow.
But they're 6.5-point favorites. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
go to if you're someone that thinks that line might be a little off, go hit up DraftKings and maybe you can make a little money. What else from Houston? What have you been doing? Why did I say Houston from Phoenix, dude? I'm struggling.
No, it's all right. I hear you. I'm glad you're doing better, and we'll be on the wood tomorrow.
What else
cool.
from Phoenix have you? I was thinking about last year's Final Four. Phoenix, Houston, and Phoenix. How many Final Fours have you?
This is my third.
This is your third. So New Orleans, Houston, and Phoenix.
Yeah.
How do you feel Phoenix is doing as a host city so far?
I think the spread out factor is tough, but it's not as bad as what Houston was.
Yeah.
Because Houston, you have to drive everywhere. Like here, we're in Scottsdale right now, where there's still a lot to do within a 5-10 minute drive. But I know, like, Big Cat's a big advocate of this. The walking cities make it the buzz is so much better. Like the first Final Four I got to cover was 2 years ago. New Orleans, Duke, UNC, Kansas, Villanova, Coach K. I think I peaked the first Final Four I covered. I actually don't know how it could get better than that.
Yeah, that is.
In terms of a Final Four
storylines, I every time I talk about that Final Four, I say this, and I'm going to do it again, that it felt like a series finale with like the Duke Carolina rivalry, and it all just like coalesced in that moment.
Yeah,
and then you walk away from that Final Four, and you're like, it's kind of over now.
I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
Like now I'm just doing it because I enjoy it and I want to be here. But
this, in college basketball since then just sort of feels like a reboot or something.
Yeah, like we got spoiled 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can have a Final Four that's going to be not only leading up with the week of, but the games itself too, and the Coach K and Duke, UNC, and the Blue Bloods. Like, I don't know how you're ever going to have a better Final Four than that.
Yeah. No, I'm in full agreement with Big Cat that like the walkable cities make a massive difference. One of the weird things I've noticed here, and I've only been outside the hotel for one day, and then I was basically just bedridden all day yesterday. But when we were out yesterday or 2 days ago, there's and I don't love this. I don't love this about like it's whatever. But there's a lot of like golf parties going on, a lot of bachelor parties, a lot of. And my ideal Final Four situations it's like everybody that's here is just locked in on the Final Four.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put down Phoenix or like because it is cool to have a city where it's like there are a bunch of people.
So you think like the vibes we've experienced on the streets and like at the restaurants and bars, it's pretty much the same thing every week? Like to what we've seen this weekend?
Oh, like here in Scottsdale?
Yeah.
Like yeah. I get the feeling that like it's like this.
Just not the college basketball demographic.
Yeah. And that's what I love about Indy and San Antonio and even New Orleans a little bit is like.
Those are basketball heavy cities.
When you go there, like the city, especially Indy, like the whole city shuts down and like literally everybody in that city is like locked in on the Final Four.
They put the giant bracket on the hotel.
Yeah. So, I noticed that, but otherwise, I don't know. I didn't go to the stadium last night, so I can't speak to that. It felt like a similar setup. Felt like
it's very isolated. I'll say this though, there's that entertainment complex where we had to pick up our credentials. It was really cool.
Oh really?
But it's just like
I saw like they were doing like a Jonas Brothers concert.
It's like a 5 to
game.
10 minute walk from the stadium, and they just have a bunch of bars and restaurants, and you could feel the vibe there. But it was just like a little bubble because there's nothing else around there. Yeah.
All right. We got to do a visible segment.
Talk about the women's game?
We can talk about the women's game. We'll do the hang on a second. The Women's National Championship prediction brought to you by Visible. If you haven't heard of Visible, now you have. They are the wireless carrier that's making wireless visible. It is in the name. Switch to Visible, the wireless company that makes wireless visible. Get a one-line plan with unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon, just $25 a month. Taxes and fees included. One-line wireless, $25 a month. Taxes and fees are, in fact, included. No hidden fees. Visible is the wireless company that makes wireless visible. Save on wireless with unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon. Switch now at visible.com. In times of traffic, your data may be temporarily slower than other traffic. 5G access required on a 5G capable device in a 5G coverage area. Monthly rate on the Visible plan. Terms apply. See visible.com. All right, the women's game. Yeah, it's about to tip off in like an hour 15.
Yeah, I kind of see a lot of similarities between the two championship games.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's
you
like
have a team that should win on
yeah.
paper, but the other team has the best player.
National Player of the Year from the Big Ten.
Same spreads.
Going up against the juggernaut. That
should win.
That should win. Yeah, it's team versus player basically, and it's going to take the individual player's brilliance to beat the team. But also, the brilliance could happen, and you could.
The undefeated aspect is a cool little extra.
So the one thing I'll say though, between the difference between the women's and the men's, one, I think that South Carolina has looked way more vulnerable. South Carolina women have looked way more vulnerable, which is relatively speaking. I mean, South Carolina women have not really.
Yeah, their only close games Indiana.
They had the Indiana game, and they were up by like 22 or something in that game.
Yeah, then they cut it to 5 or something.
But they've at least looked way more vulnerable than UConn has. And then the other thing is I think Caitlin Clark having the ball in her hands at all times. Like I think she is more prone or more primed or whatever to have like a monster game where she just takes over than Zach Edey does, because just by nature of like the positions they play, that Caitlin Clark can run the entire offense, whereas Zach Edey, needs people to feed the ball to him and needs Purdue shooters to make shots, because if they're not hitting, then maybe UConn can double him a little more and all that. So I actually think Iowa, it feels like in terms of like, if you're someone that wants to see between the men's and the women's national championships, you're hoping you see like one transcendent performance where one man or woman carries their team past the juggernaut. I feel like Caitlin Clark has the better shot at doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, there's never been more eyes on the women's game. You see, it was the ESPN's the most highly rated basketball game ever. Yeah, that's insane.
Is this game on ABC? This will be on.
So it's gonna be
on network. This will do like 20 million viewers. Yeah,
but this doesn't include like the NBA Finals, right? Because that's ABC exclusive.
That's ABC
on the ESPN network.
Just on ESPN, yeah.
Which is still unbelievably impressive. Like that's all Eastern Conference Finals and all of that. Like those games are usually on ESPN. For NBA.
The game tomorrow is on TBS, right?
Yeah,
it's not on CBS. No. So this is going to outdraw the women's. Is going to outdraw the men's. Yeah,
because you think about it, like people watching on airplanes. I always use this example. Yeah. Like you only get like 6 channels. Like you're going to get ABC, you probably won't get TBS.
No, it's a huge in terms of the way ratings work. Like if you're on network versus cable,
right?
I think most of us that follow sports and are really into it don't really see the difference.
I'm a nerd like that, but yeah.
As to whether it's on ESPN or FS1 or like to us, it's like whatever, we're gonna watch it. Yeah. But you have to remember like all the grandmas across the country that still only get
scrolling through the channels. Women's basketball. Yeah. Might as well take a look.
If you get it on network television, it does monster ratings. So yeah, they're gonna do like 20 million.
Especially if it gets close late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who do you think's gonna win?
I'll take Iowa. Screw it.
I do feel like. Yeah, I do feel like it's just gonna be South Carolina and UConn.
Yeah, the favorites.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
two blowouts
both these games, you're just like, man, this is setting up to be an all-timer. And
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm too pessimistic. Maybe I need to believe in something a little more.
Like, what if like there's a good chance like one team just wins wire to wire, one of these two championships or both?
Yeah.
Like UConn could be up 16-6 at the under 16 or under 12, and it's just like never a game.
Yeah. I do think that Purdue's team is better than Iowa women. I think if they played head-to-head, Purdue would win. No, I think that I really, like, no disrespect to the rest of the Iowa girls, but also kind of disrespect to them. That, like, they are this good because of Caitlin Clark. And you could say the same about Purdue, but also, Purdue's like the #1 3-point shooting team in the country, and Braden Smith is an incredible point guard. And, like, Purdue has – Zach Edey does everything for them, but the reason they lost to a 16 seed last year and are now playing for national championship is because the guys around him are so much better and are very, very good. And watching Iowa this year, it's not that I don't want to say that the rest of the girls in Iowa stink. They don't, but it is very obviously just like Caitlin Clark and a bunch of just like replacement level people.
Yeah,
she just makes them all so good. They can shoot. They get open shots. They hit them. But she just like she's so good at running the show. So I don't know. It does feel like if I was going to win today, Caitlin Clark has to have like 40.
Mm-hmm. What's her highest? She had 49 against Michigan.
She had 49.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
They score 100 a lot. Interesting.
Yeah, they light it up. I'm jealous that they play the women's in an arena too. That makes it like watching it on TV. Just the energy's so much better.
Did you see they sold out the practice yesterday?
It
was like just the full capacity, just like
crazy.
The practice in between the games,
just absolutely packed. Yeah. The other thing about the women's national championship, this trend of all the old heads shitting all over Caitlin Clark, I absolutely love. And most people don't because they just come off as like being super petty and very jealous of Caitlin Clark, and they do. And I'm not saying that I agree with them. I'm just saying I love it because that is how men's basketball works as well. Is you get like the old heads shitting on the new generation that they could never play. They couldn't have handled. These guys today could not have handled playing against the bad boy Pistons. They would have been crying in the locker room if they had to play. I love that women's basketball has arrived at that point where the older players are now just openly shitting on, like Diana Taurasi just shitting on Caitlin Clark and Breanna Stewart shitting on her. And I saw Lynette Woodward was doing the.
I think they're salty because UConn.
Well, Lynette Woodward.
I guess not.
She went to Kansas and she was. Mm-hmm. Did you see that clip? She was like speaking at the Hall of Fame and she was like, I don't think Caitlin Clark actually broke my record, even though she broke her record. And I don't really understand the rationale, but she just was like, she said to address the elephant in the room. Lynette Woodard. Let me see it. I would go Lynette Woodard. I forget what she said.
With a men's basketball and a 2-point shot,
Oh yeah. Yeah, she didn't have a 3-point line. Is that what she was saying? And she had to play with the men's basketball. So she's like, I feel like Caitlin Clark didn't actually break my record.
Right.
It's incredible. I love it. But this is exactly like it's stupid and it's like it's not grounded in reality. But I love it because that's how women's basketball has arrived. Is if everything's kumbaya, you don't have a real sport. You have to have people being petty and shitting on each other at all times, and that's how you know you've arrived as a sport. And women's basketball is there. So
yeah, this game's gonna be amazing. 1 hour till tip.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't even bring. I can't believe we've almost done a full hour of a show and you haven't brought up the wedgie that happened.
I asked Diarra in the locker room.
I saw that.
Yeah, no, I've done this multiple times. I think I did it with Marquise Noel last year at MSG in the Sweet 16, and the guys hate wedgies. Players hate them because it's such a bad shot. I asked Golke this in the studio in the office last week too. They just like get embarrassed because you're so far off.
Yeah, because if you airball long or short, if you're shooting a 3 from the corner and you shoot it too long and airball it, you're at least on line. It was at least
right.
You just shot it too hard. When you wedgie it, you both had the
short
direction
and off, yeah,
and the strength of which you're shooting off.
Yeah.
And then also we now have to stop the game to
but
get the ball down.
The sight of it, like the ball moves all the time in basketball, and then it just freezes.
Is that what it is for you?
It's just like pause.
Is there anyone else that's anywhere close to your level of love for wedgies? Like who's
Ian's a big fan.
Ian was a big fan. It happened last night. He lost his mind. Yeah.
I think that was the first time I heard of the phenomenon. It was like him saying it in a broadcast one day.
So did he coin the term?
I don't know
wedgie?
if he created it, but I remember that's what caught my eye. Like,
yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for everybody watching. I will feel better tomorrow. We're gonna do a show. I'm gonna go to the game tomorrow no matter what. That's a promise. That's a guarantee.
What's the meme? I will be there no matter what.
I will be there no matter what. I apologize for missing last night.
It's okay.
I'm going to officially retire from wings. I was leaning into like I'm a big dumb pussy and can't handle eating wings, but like I do think I was legitimately dealing with some food poisoning or something yesterday, dude.
Yeah.
It was.
I feel bad.
When
you said before this though, this was the worst day for it to happen.
It's the worst day.
But I don't know. I feel like happening during the first day, Thursday, is like
that would be the worst actually.
Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
Like there's one TV. Like imagine you were stuck in a hotel room and there was 4 games going on.
Yeah,
you'd be all over the place. Here you could just like relax.
Yeah, that's true. If this happened, if I was like hugging a toilet all day on the first Thursday,
because there's so much more going on. If there's a media timeout, you know you have nothing to worry about. I would have been
so broken.
Yeah. So I feel like spin zone.
But I had so much FOMO. Just like I'm laying in bed shivering, watching. Yeah, and I'm scrolling Twitter and
right.
You know, Dave and Dan and Rico in the suite were cracking me up.
They've got a big day tomorrow.
Yeah, big day. Big day.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll do the show tomorrow. Yeah, I will feel better and we'll power through. But fired up. It'll be an awesome game. It should be. I think it will be a very good game.
Yeah.
I hope it is a good game. Like the idea of UConn rolling is at some point if UConn does roll. I said this last week. Like if UConn rolls to another national championship, at some point we have to stop like thinking this is cool. We have to like. Yeah. We have to be like, all right, now this is enough's enough. You've won 2 in a row, and you've done it without even. This is like the most dominant stretch we've seen since.
I'm scared the NCAA will
UCLA
be like,
back in the day.
The tournament's not random enough. Let's expand.
Oh yeah, we need more teams in here to compete with UConn. That's honestly next. If UConn does in fact beat Purdue by like 15 or 20 tomorrow, which I don't think they will, but if they like blow Purdue out, I think next year for the tournament we should just have UConn play every single team.
Yeah,
just line them up. Like you have to win 60. You have to win 67 games.
A reverse bye.
Yeah,
the 1 seeds have to play 3 extra games.
Yeah, because this is absolutely crazy. But yeah, they're. I saw a stat this morning. They their margin of victory is like 124 points through 5 games, and the record. What was it? I wish I could find that tweet. Someone tweeted this out. Like they basically, as of right now, if they beat Purdue by 1 point or 2 points, they'll have the record for the most, the highest margin of victory in an NCAA tournament. And all they have to do is beat Purdue. If they just like win the game tomorrow, they'll have the record. So if they even if they lose by like 5, they will still have one of the most dominant NCAA tournament runs and not even win the title. That's how crazy. That's how historic this UConn run has been.
We haven't had a true buzzer beater this tournament, have we?
I
feel like every tournament you get at least one true buzzer beater. Like zeros on the clock.
Did we get Florida, Colorado was there one?
They made
or no? They put time back on.
Did they? Yeah,
Florida, Colorado
right.
was.
It was close.
Oh no, Houston A&M to go to overtime.
Yeah, but like game
A&M,
winner.
but yeah, not a game winner. Yeah, but A&M hit the shot at the buzzer to go to overtime. Yeah, maybe we get a buzzer beater tomorrow.
But like if UConn wins, they're gonna win by double digits. I feel like.
Yeah. It is a weird thing where like the only criticism or the only hole you can like poke in UConn is they haven't really had a close game late. But that's such an insane thing to like
you
to
guys
bring
should
up
tank
as like
a little bit just
yeah.
to get that extra feeling.
Yeah. So excited for tomorrow. Edie versus Klingon is gonna be great, but I think the game's gonna be won by guys who are like third or fourth or fifth on the list. Like I think Mason Gillis and Trey Kaufman-Wren are like two guys I'm looking at for Purdue because I think Purdue's guards are gonna get swallowed alive, and that's just the reality of it. Like I think they can be okay, and I think like Lance Jones will hit shots when he's open, and Braden Smith will surely play a little bit better than he did last night. But I just don't see a world where like they're gonna like where like Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer both go for 20. Like that's just not gonna happen.
Right.
But I do think that Mason Gillis is a big time X factor. I think Alex Caravan and Trey Kaufman-Wren, that matchup's gonna be fascinating because I think both guys have a little bit of a mismatch on offense. So I look at those two guys for Purdue, Trey Kaufman-Wren and Mason Gillis. But having said all that, all we're going to talk about between now and tip-off is Klingon versus Edie.
Right.
And that's going to be it. So anything else, Jake?
I think that's it. Pumped for tomorrow.
Yeah.
We can't really commit to a time. It depends like on the situation, but should we give a ballpark of what, like midnight Eastern?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, Jake and I will be doing we're going to go live from the court after
probably like an hour after the game ends.
Yeah,
right? Give
after
or
the
take.
trophy's handed out, after the nets are cut down, after Jim Nance is going to give his tie. I think he's still going to. I think he's going to find a way. He's gonna have a tie in his pocket that he just like hands it. Where was he sitting?
He was just roaming.
He was just roaming around.
Yeah, saying hello to everyone.
Hello, friends.
Exactly.
Hello, friends. He's still calling the Masters, right?
Yeah, he's going straight to Augusta, so we still got the Jim Nance week of Final Four.
Yeah, we'll be live tomorrow night. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys then.